All right. So let's get started by a few of us have been together before and are somewhat familiar with one another. A couple new faces on here, people that I have had the privilege of meeting over the last week through Instagram or Facebook, or because you either I followed you, you followed me, or you listened to the podcast or whatever. We linked up somehow. So let's just kind of go around the room, around the virtual room, and just a quick intro of everybody so everybody knows who you're talking to. And on my screen, Jeremy, you're up in the top left, so I'm going to start with you.
Hello, and first of all, I just want to thank you, Chief, for letting me come on again. I like being a part of things like that. It's cool. But my name is Jeremy Sanders. I run Crew First Culture social media pages. I'm a 18-year career firefighter, but I also do I'm a firefighter at home with the volunteer department where I live in. So that's pretty new. I've just started that within the past month and a half. So kind of excited about starting that journey in my life right now. And I'm happy to be here and listen to you guys.
Awesome. Thanks, Jeremy. Gene?
How's everybody doing? My name is Gene Del Pioli. I am a career fireman for a little over 15 years, and I am also a volunteer in my hometown. I've been with my volunteer department here about 4 years, and I'm currently a lieutenant there.
Thanks, Gene. Gene's one of my county brethren. So not that we get to work with each other ever, but he's just a bit up the road, we'll say. John, do you want to say hello?
Sure. So I'm John. I run the social media page Truck Schmucks, and I'm also one of the co-hosts for that podcast. So I started my career out in New Hampshire as a junior firefighter. I spent 10 years there until about 2009. I went and dealt with some PTSD stuff and worked it out, moved to Maine, and now I'm a call firefighter for a little Maine town, and I'm also running for a lieutenant's position there.
All right, awesome. Thanks, John. And we just linked up. Yeah, this week, right? This week. The weeks are a blur, man. It's like I don't remember what day is what day anymore. It's like I'm so ready to get back to normal life, with all this crap. Like everything's just a blend. Yeah. So John and I started following each other. I checked out his podcast earlier in the week. I always like to check out what other guys are doing, especially when they're on the volunteer, more on the volunteer platform. Not that the career stuff isn't fabulous, it is, but I like to mix it up a little bit and see what everybody's talking about. All right, I don't want to butcher it. Tomer? Is it Tomer?
Yeah, that's actually one of the best ways to say it. So I'm 17 years old. I'm the assistant head for the volunteer division at the Herzliya Fire Station. I live in Israel. I've been a volunteer for the past 3 years. And I basically work with our junior firefighters, with our older volunteer firefighters. Israel, it's a national department, so it runs as a combination, and each station is in charge of maintaining and creating their own volunteer division. So that's pretty much what I do. We're pretty much shut down because of the virus, so we're trying to catch up in between. That's the gist of what I do.
Thank you. Thanks for being on. So Tomer reached out to me this week and, introduced himself. And, obviously when you get a message from somebody in another country somewhere, you're always a little skittish. Like, is this guy legit or is he going to Zoom bomb it? But sent me his bio and I thought it was cool because I have no knowledge or background of the volunteer service in Israel at all right? And just what he sent me, I thought was going to be valuable to what we were talking about tonight. And yeah, so thanks for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Stephanie.
Hey, my name is Stephanie. I'm a volunteer firefighter in St. James, New York, and I've been on for close to 5 years. I spent a lot of that time on medical leave, unfortunately, so long story there. But hopefully moving to a paid position with FDNY eventually, and that's it.
Cool. Thanks for being on. Appreciate it. Heather, do you want to say hello while you're driving, or do you want to wait till you get?
Sure. I'm Heather Walsh from Rock Hill Fire Department, volunteer for the last 3 years. And I get Brian. I'm lucky.
Yeah, Heather is one of my volunteers, and yeah, she's a valuable asset to the team for sure, no doubt about it. All right, Mitch, you made it, brother.
Yeah, you bet I did.
You want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. I'm Mitch Tiddams. I'm a volunteer firefighter up in Canada. I volunteer for a small department called Vicecur. It's a small community about 50 minutes north of where I actually live. We run a unique system up here, so I'm their duty officer for that department.
All right. Cool, Mitch. Thanks for being on. I'm glad you're able to make it. So, all right, let's start with a couple of the topics that were sent to me first, and then I want to jump into Jeremy's just in case he actually has a call and has to actually go out and do work tonight. So the first one I thought was, from my point of view, it was a pretty easy question, but it's regarding the chief officer, okay, or chief officers, and this is exactly how it was worded. Should the chief be a jerk to probationary members, even though everyone else is? All right, so I dug into that a little bit as far as, well, what do we mean by a jerk to probationary members? Do we mean hazing probationary members, or do we mean, giving the probationary members a little, extra in the firehouse? All right, so somebody jump in on this one and tell me, what do you think the balance is when we're dealing with probationary members, regarding not just the chief, assistant chiefs, officers, senior men, whatever it is? What's the balance of firehouse culture versus you're taking it too far? Who wants to jump in?
Personally,
Jump in,
for me,
Gene.
go
Okay,
ahead,
Jeremy,
Gene.
go ahead. Jeremy, go ahead.
I think some of that is actually very important. I'm not talking about hazing, mean, things like that. But as far as just being personable and razzing each other and giving each other a hard time, that's part of why I like doing this job, is because I like harassing people and for fun and getting it right back. I think that's part of building relationships and all that. So I think a little bit, if you're a chief officer, you got to be kind of careful what you're doing. And I'm not a proponent of anything harmful or anything at all at any rank, but
Right.
as far as just the fun and all that, I think it's important for everybody, even a chief, just to kind of give it a shot here and there. But at the same time, you got to be okay with taking that right back and let people know that it's okay. So that's kind of what I think.
I agree. Absolutely. Gene, what do you think?
That's one of those very fine lines that a chief officer really needs to be careful with. I mean, I'm all about the firehouse banter and, the razzing back and forth, but as a chief officer, you really have to be careful as far as how far that goes and how far you allow it to go.
Right.
Because that could put you in a really bad situation as a chief officer. So
Sure can.
I kind of lead towards not getting involved in that kind of stuff as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
The joking around amongst people that have been around a long time is one thing, but a new member to do that too, I kind of say stay away from it.
I think there's, harassment's a powerful word, right? If you're using, if somebody is referring to it as harassment, regardless of what word comes before harassment, but if they're calling it harassment, it's not what I think Jeremy is referring to as, you know, the joking, the having a good time, the you know, hey, fill the water cooler, Proby, you know, like kind of stuff, you know. That's, you know, I think that kind of stuff is, you know, how you, I don't want to say earn your place, but kind of how you become a member of the team, right? If it takes a step where somebody's calling it harassment, more than likely it's gone to the next level, right? You guys think that's a fair statement to make?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yep, definitely fair.
What do the rest of you guys think? I mean, look, most of you are younger, have been around this less than some of us. What's your take on that? Because it's been a long time since I've been in that position. So
Can I speak, Brian?
yeah, go ahead.
I might lose service first, but for me, I've been there 3 years now, but I still get picked on, but it's all in fun. Like, I appreciate it because I know they want me there, and it makes me like toughen up and give it back. So like you said, there is a fine line, but I think the water cooler thing was great because every time I went in, I did it. Now the younger kids that are coming in, I kind of show them the same thing, and I'm not an officer. So you kind of learn from it and grow with it.
I agree. Good point.
I think there's to what Jean said, there's a very fine line, and to what Heather said, it's almost like a traditionary thing.
Mhm.
I think nowadays, like when I joined my department, the first thing I walked into was a harassment case where a couple of EMTs were let go. And, you know, so I feel like it's changed over the years, especially with like the immediacy of social media and, you know, taking it out of the firehouse and now bringing it to other platforms. So
Right.
in terms of like a chief, I kind of go more towards like Jean's point where, you know, you can be a little bit playful, but you have to establish that, you know, that role of I'm not screwing around with things. Whereas I feel like if you're lower on the totem pole as like a lieutenant or someone, a senior member with time, you know, you can, you know, do the whole like take out the trash, fill up the water, you know, a little bit of games here and there. And it does build character, builds bonds. So, but taking it too far is, yeah, that's a whole nother.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, and I think some of that is lost a little bit today with just the generational change of things. And I think we talked about this, I don't know, it was on either on one of the podcasts or maybe on the last roundtable. You know, I said that when I was a Proby a long time ago that, you know, I knew that I was expected to be at the firehouse for everything, you know, and I knew that, and I was always there. And if I wasn't gonna be there, I would go out of my way to let the officers know why I wasn't gonna be there. It wasn't they were hunting me down, you know, I was hunting them down. Today, it's not really that way anymore, you know. With some people it is. I don't want to paint everybody with a broad brush. I mean, some people take it very seriously, but you know, there's other people, there's some people out there that, you know, want to wear the logo on their chest, but want to do it on their time when it's convenient for them at the pace that they want to do it, you know, and do the fun stuff, but not the bond building things or the, you know, the unfun activities, I guess we'll call them.
The commitment.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there you go. Thanks. Yeah. I could have
You're
shortened
welcome.
that. I could have shortened that entire sentence up by one word, right? Commitment. Anything else? What about the rest of you guys?
So I'll just jump in.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we're a bit different system because the volunteers supplement our paid firefighters.
Mhm.
We're pretty much how did I say it? We're forever probies. We're always the guys washing the dishes. We're always the guys first on the rig. We're always the guys that'll get the tools.
Okay.
That's the way it's literally set in stone. That's the way the rules are, and we always try to pass that on to the new guys,
Mhm.
whether it be pranking them, helping them with that thing. I'll say that one of the best pranks that we always do, and I've been having it done to me for the last 3 years, was somebody always has a recording of the bell of the tones on their phone.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody could be taking a nap. It goes off. I start running to the truck. It's usually me. Usually it happens to me. And and so it's a culture. Because we are working with because specifically the volunteers, we're working with teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
We like to keep it fun. We like to keep it. We're okay with pranks. We have our own weird ass traditions like hosing somebody down after their first call, or hosing the entire class down after their ceremonies are over. And that just keeps the vibes good and keeps everybody happy. It's always been under control, so we've always enjoyed it. And I think as far as a senior goes, as far as if the chief goes down, again, the system works a bit different here in Israel because
Sure.
the chief is a mythical figure in the station. He runs the station. He doesn't go down to the shifts day to day. And so it really depends who the chief is, because some stations they'll have a chief that is more tight on the rules, and they'll have a different approach. It really differs from station to station in Israel.
Gotcha.
It's pretty incredible.
That's awesome. Gene, what do you think? I like mythical figure. I like that title. Mythical
Yeah,
figure.
because
I could go for that.
yeah,
I can see that.
Cheap.
I can see that on a job shirt coming soon. Mythical figure.
Back of a jacket.
Yeah.
All right.
Depends who the chief is.
Yeah. No, I
We've
hear
had
you.
I'll take some examples, because Herzliya has actually produced some of the best firefighters in Israel. For instance, one of the district commanders, which is like a huge title here, he controls pretty much, I think, like a seventh of the country in terms of firefighting. He started out in my position back a couple decades ago. So he
Right.
became a firefighter, crew chief, shift chief, up and up and up and up, and that's where he is now. And his son volunteers with me.
Wow, that's amazing. That's
So
cool.
that's the culture that really passes in our firehouses.
Yeah.
That's the amazing part of it.
That is very amazing. That is amazing. Awesome. All right, let's move on from this one. I think we hit that one pretty good. Jeremy, you want to talk about what the message you had sent to me?
Yeah, sure. It's just kind of been something that's been kind of boiling up inside me, and then just so happened I've had a couple conversations with some people here lately that go right along, and I've just been trying to talk more about it, because it seems like a good thing to be spreading out. But it's just basically being a leader. It doesn't matter if you're formal or not. We need to be real. We don't need to be these kind of, to go along with the joke of the time here, the mythical creature that's perfect and untouchable to any kind of stress or anything like that. And I've seen that so many times, as you've got these people that aren't willing to show any weakness, because they don't want that to be taken as they aren't somebody that could be trusted to make big choices, or things like that. That mindset of, I can't show weakness because I'm leading a group of people that are trying to save lives, and all that is just, to me, it's bull. I think in today's age of the fire service, we have got to start fostering an environment to open doors for just communication, as far as stress relief, mental health things, anything like that. And that is not going to happen if your leadership refuses to open that door. If I'm a firefighter and my leaders, formal or formal, are people that don't ever show any weakness, don't ever talk about things that are bothering them, don't ever kind of open that door, then am I going to be in a spot to feel like that's okay to do? I mean, is that going to be comfortable to me? No. I mean, it's not going to happen. So I just think as leaders, if you're a senior firefighter, if you're a lieutenant, a captain, chief, whatever, it doesn't matter. You've got to be that person to start that culture. Really, I guess is the best way to say it, is just showing that it's okay to sit down at the table and say, man, I'm having a little bit of a hard time with this last call. You know what? Is anybody else feeling that way? Just anything. It doesn't matter if it's something you're struggling with. It doesn't matter if it's something at home. Just starting conversations, showing that you're vulnerable. If it's something that you made a mistake on, man, guys, I screwed up that last call. Let's talk about it, figure out kind of what happened and things like that. And so that's kind of the short version of the topic, or actually the long version of just, as leaders, be real, be open, be honest, be vulnerable, so that the people below us can see that it's okay to do that, and it's good to do that. So that's what it was.
Absolutely. Who wants to comment on this one before I do? Because I could talk about this a little bit.
Yeah, I probably could too.
I'll make a comment.
Go ahead, John.
So, back when I started, I remember going to my first fatal car crash, and I had it rougher than other members of the department at the time because my father was my captain, and so there were two. My dad wore two hats, the dad and the captain. And when we were at the firehouse, the captain hat was on, and it was the suck it up kid. But when we left and went home, he was like, "Hey, you all right?" But he couldn't do that because he was old school. And fast forward to last year, I remember going to my first, active shooter situation where it was a murder-suicide type thing. And the chief, when we all got back to the station, he brought us all into his office and to make sure that we were okay, because we were sitting there for 7 hours going, "Come on, let's go. There's victims in this house. Come on, let's go." And, and that spoke, it spoke to me, and I was like, wow, this guy's a hell of a leader. And, I dealt with my own stuff. And I remember me as a senior member of the department, when a new guy came on, I think it was like his second call with the department, and it happened to be a working code. I remember just the two of us were in the day room, and I was like, "Hey, you okay? Have you ever done CPR before?" And he's like, "Yeah, I've seen a few dead bodies." And yeah, I'm like, "All right, well, here's my number. If, later on this bothers you, just text me. My phone's always on." So I think, kind of fostering the it's okay to talk is what I'm trying to say.
Absolutely. And I think that's the most important part. And that's a cultural thing. And Jeremy, you used that word a couple of times when you were talking. And so you, John, that it's a cultural, it's a culture of your station, right? If you have a culture of everybody's got to be, macho and cool and suck it up and not talk about everything. And, especially with guys, I think it's more of an issue with, guys want to pound on their chest and, put their shoulders back and be like, nothing bothers me. I don't want anybody to see me weak. But I think it's, you got to have that culture from the top down that it's okay to talk about things. And I wish John was on tonight, because he does a really good job talking about this in his mental health seminar. And we just talked about it last night. We were recording next week's podcast, and that's pretty much what we talked about was mental health in the fire service and the bucket effect of all this stuff that you're constantly throwing in your bucket until your bucket finally overflows because you can't take it anymore, But, I think that culture of it being okay to talk about things starts right at the top of the department, with the leadership, with the senior men, with, and right down the line. Let's face it, nobody's perfect. I am definitely not perfect. And, people that know me well know that. All right. But, I'm human. So, I'm going to screw up. I'm not going to do things right all the time. getting outside of the mental health spectrum and just in life in general. We can't always wear this persona that we're perfect in every aspect of life. Gene, you want to add to that?
Yeah, well, staying away from the mental health part of it, just as, from a leadership kind of perspective and trying not to be that perfect guy all the time. To me, I take that negative and I try and turn that into a positive. First of all, we all are empowered to be leaders, regardless if we're there for a year, 10 years, 20 years, doesn't matter. But what you need to do is if you have a weakness that you have, and maybe there's somebody else in the department that's a little stronger at it, use that. Give them some empowerment too. Let them feel like they're more involved. And so you're taking your weakness and making it a strength by involving other people that have what you're lacking. So that's something that, you should look at it that way too.
Absolutely. Heather, I see your raised hand. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. Hopefully I don't lose service again, but I caught most of what you guys were saying, and I have to say that I agree with the gentleman, Gene. Sorry, I'm bad with names.
He's a gentleman. It's okay.
Sometimes.
About, because my department, they know I have problems speaking, and Brian puts me to the test all the time and makes me speak. But the radios, they get me on them all the time because I have trouble with that. But it's also important, even if we're not officers, to recognize, even if it's an officer, them feeling some type of way and we can sense it, we should be okay and comfortable enough to say, hey, is there something going on?
Exactly. That's exactly the point. Yep.
You had to bring that up, right?
Sorry, just saying.
No, but she's right, and I commented on this.
It's hard as you as an officer, for me not being an officer, to step up to you and say, hey, is everything okay?
Right. No, and listen, I appreciate it when somebody like yourself does, right? Because and I just talked about this last night. There's only a few people that can pick up on my nonverbal language, and most of them are family members, and there's a few of them at the firehouse, So when I walk in the door and somebody like Heather, who just dined me in here, is like, "What's up? You okay?" And I'm like, "Ugh, damn it! How did she see that?" So, but I appreciate that because listen. Like we just got done saying, yeah, all right. So I'm the chief officer, but I also have bad days just like everybody else does, And I try to kind of, when I'm having one of those really tough days, try not even to go around if I can not do that, and just kind of let things cool down and then go back around.
One of the other members said something about his dad being his captain and wearing both hats.
Sure.
So I'm in that kind of same situation with Eddie being my little brother, and he's also my officer. He loves every bit of it.
Yeah. And the one thing I just want to add on that, and I'll let anybody else that wants to jump in, is it's okay, regardless of what your rank is, to say that you screwed something up, right? And one of the topics that we've talked about, and this ties right back into that being open, right, and having communication. It's okay to say, hey, I didn't make the right call on that fire, or I didn't, I missed this. It's okay to verbalize that. Honestly, you'll get a hell of a lot more respect from people when you do that and you're open and honest than trying to cover it up and be like, oh, whatever. I'll use Gene as an example. I'll say he was my lieutenant. Oh, I told the lieutenant that he should have done that, but he didn't listen to me. Instead of just saying, no, I screwed up.
It's on me.
Yeah, I screwed up, bro. It's on me. I made the bad call.
Yep.
But anybody else want to jump in on this one?
I think the subtleties that you and John mentioned about body language and the follow-up, it's one thing to be, sitting around, the TV and saying hey man, are you feeling okay? Or do you want to talk about that last call? You seem a little affected. And it's another thing to say, here's my number, because a lot of times we're either our adrenaline's going or we're just kind of in a fog in the moment. And then, it could hit hours later, days later, weeks later, where it sinks in and you have, emotions, and then you want to kind of let them out or discuss them. So I think like the follow-up, the availability of a follow-up is super important, and it builds bonds. And also to what you said about body language, like, yeah, you could have a negative body language, but in engaging in conversation, instead of being like, are you good?
Yeah.
Hey man, are you feeling all right? Like, just having that openness physically can send a whole different message to someone, rather than like, I'm here to check up on you because it's kind of like in the rules, rather than like, hey man, let's sit down, have a beer, have a soda, whatever. And so I think those little subtleties make a huge difference.
And I'll go one step further with what you just said, and it's spot on. Is it's great to give somebody your number and say, hey, give me a call. Give me a call if you want to talk. Take it one step further. Give it a day or whatever you think is appropriate, and you call them, and say, hey man, listen, I'm just, we spoke the other night. You seem, you didn't seem like yourself. I'm just following up to make sure you're okay. Because a lot of people, that's the biggest problem. A lot of people won't take that first step. They won't. You give them your phone number, they won't call you. But if you call them and you say, hey, are you all right? They might, doors might open right up, because you made the call, and now they're like, wow, this person really gives a shit, and really cares that I'm okay.
Totally.
But when it comes with dealing with stuff at the firehouse, and again, jumping into the the leadership aspect of it, and it, when we do have that bad call or that traumatic incident, or listen, maybe it's something that happened in somebody's personal life that you just hear about, through the through the way things travel, and that you check on them, you make sure they're okay. In the firehouse aspect, if you need to set up something, set up a critical incident stress debriefing type situation, those can be helpful. But again, those are only as helpful as people are willing to come and participate, right? So setting something like that up and telling all your probies, hey, you got to go to this critical incident stress debriefing, but then none of the senior men or the leadership shows up, it doesn't work. That doesn't work at all, because they're going to feel like you like they were abandoned, and they're definitely not going to open up. Anything, anybody else want to add anything on that one?
So I actually have an example for this. It happens a lot that we need to talk about what happened, and we've been trying, the department in general has been pushing this culture for the past few years. I can give an example of something that happened to me. I'm still in school. I'm in 12th grade. So a specific day I started school at 12. So I came on shift before school, and then I came on shift after school. And in the morning, about 8 o'clock, we got a suicide attempt. And we broke a door down, the usual thing. We're not EMS, so we work with the EMS and police. And then I go to school. Then I come back to the shift. It was a tough one because the person who attempted was, I think, 20 years old. So she wasn't that. And her little brothers were there. It was a mess. And we get back, and luckily in my class, I have another guy who volunteers with me. We were the same class. We work out together. We work together. So it's been, and we talked it out. We talked about the call. We talked about everything. And after that, I really saw how much it helped. And I started pushing it towards our shift leaders and towards the guys below them, and making sure that it happens. And I really saw the change that it did there for me. And we had more of these talks, and we saw how much of a change it does for other people to see what happened. And we can also learn from these incidents. It's a great way to learn. I always love to teach using my faults. So if we're teaching how to throw a hose, okay, listen, the first, I nearly broke a car doing this or this and that. It's a great way to teach. And that's really what we've been doing for the past few years.
Yeah, I agree. My best training photos are the crappy photos of me of all the dumb shit I did when I was a Proby. Those are like my best training photos because I can throw it up there in a slideshow and I can be like, hey guys, you see that guy in the ditch right there with no shoring and the helmet on his head? Yeah, that's me. Don't do that. Works great.
So Israel, just for a difference, we don't stretch lines. All our lines are thrown. We have to roll out every line, and first thing we teach them, first physical thing we teach them is how to roll out hoses. And we always say the sentence that the guy that teaches it always says, it's always better than my first time. Anything you do here is better than my first time.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I nearly broke somebody's car the first time, so just for
that's great.
Just for comparison.
Cool. Awesome. That's great. All right, cool. Yeah, so I definitely think we get some good points there. I think it's about openness. You know, having that culture. Those of you that have not, I'll give them a plug. I'm always plugging them. If you haven't jumped in on Don's mental health seminar, he's doing it again on that's Chief Sahatchin down there in Jersey, who's been on my podcast a couple of times. He's doing it on May 9th. Again, he's rerunning it on Zoom, and I'm telling you, I always learn something whenever it doesn't matter how many times I've taken a class, regardless of what it is. If any of you were to present something to me that I've taken 10 times, I'm going to learn something just based on your experiences and your way of teaching. And I was very surprised when I sat through that mental health training on just a couple things that I picked up on that I just didn't think of it that way before. So I'll throw the link out there later on. It'll be on my social as we get closer. But if you haven't tuned into that, I would. John, you want to talk about you were asking about new officer roles, and I definitely think we got some avenues to go there for sure.
Yeah. So like I said in the beginning, I was asked to throw my name into the candidate pool for a lieutenant and a captain's position. We have a few officer positions opening up, and the deputy chief asked me to put my name in because he feels like I would be bringing something to the table to the team. So I did. So I just, he keeps asking me questions like, what do you think about this? I'm like, I hate officers that come off as dinks. I hate to put it bluntly, but I've had a few, like one of my first captains, he was a complete dink, complete opposite of what I think of as a leader in that role.
Is that a New England? I got to ask. Is that a New England thing? A dink? I just got to ask.
Yeah, that's a New England term. It's a dink.
All right, just checking.
It's kind of like an asshole.
All right, that's fine. I want to relate it to something that I can relate to here in New York. That's all. Go ahead.
I've heard there's a few New England terms that nobody knows outside of New England.
And
like
Stephanie's on Long Island. She's like, what the hell's a dink? Yeah, all right. Go
I
ahead.
thought he was saying something else, and I was like, okay.
No,
all right, go ahead.
So, I mean, when I was a junior firefighter, this guy just, I don't know what his problem was. I think it was something to do with his military background, but his personality and my personality did not mesh. He was just super hard. It was like borderline harassment. So I was like, wow, that is not the type of leader. If I'm ever put in that role, that is not the leader I want to be. But now that this is becoming a real thing of me wearing a red helmet, I want to make sure that I'm prepared to be a great leader. And it sounds like we have a few, and you Chief, it sounds like you worked your way up. So I just want some tips and tricks and how I can be the best lieutenant I can be if that position is offered to me.
Who wants to start this one? Mitch, you're quiet, bro. You want to jump in on this one? Come on.
Yeah, I can jump in for sure. To me, it's always about being humble and just kind of relating with the crew you're on with. The best leaders I've ever had have been the guys who are humble and there to be, you don't know the difference between them unless they're on a call and they're wearing that red hat or that white hat. And that's kind of the way I've always led my crews, and the way I lead the department now is I'm the same as them. When we're sitting in the kitchen, I'm the same. When we're at home and hanging out and helping them outside of the hall were the same, but we're on calls. It's you kind of still behave the same and don't ask them to do anything that you wouldn't do yourself.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Gene?
Like you said, it's important to stay humble. As far as me personally, being a leader really isn't much different than being another firefighter. We're all there to get a job done. The only difference becoming a leader is, you have that responsibility of taking care of the guys that are below you. You always want to do things that is in the best interest of them as well as yourself. You don't want to just think of, hey, I'm the boss now, I'm going to tell you how it's done. It's not really how it is. You want to go there, you want to, get the job done, you want to get everybody home safe, and that's where you really got to focus. Be open to opinions, be open to ideas. Some of these young guys may come up with an idea that is something you may have never thought of, but in reality it works out great. So keep that two-way communication open is a really big thing.
Excellent.
Jeremy, what do you think?
I really like what Mitch said. The humbleness, basically that's kind of how I like to run things here. Is when we're at the station, when we're training, things like that. You probably aren't going to be able to tell who the officer is, because not only do I just enjoy meshing in, but I enjoy using that time as times of kind of challenging these people I work with to step up, to kind of take on different roles, to just them a chance to grow themselves. But really the main things for me is just care about your people and take care of them. And basically that's two different things to me. Is I care about them, I want to do right by them, but I also want to take care of them. I want to have their back, and that's kind of the foundation of how I want to be as a leader.
I think you walk I think these guys hit the nail on the head with, being humble and, remembering that it wasn't too long ago that you were wearing the same color helmet as everybody else. You walk a fine line. If you're going to go down the theological officer class type setting, you're in a different group. You do put yourself in a different peer group per se when you become an officer. All right. They say that people aren't going to treat you as one of the guys anymore. And that's partially true. That's partially true. You are looked at differently once you take the step to the officer's ranks. All right. But I think the humbleness comes in, staying engaged with everybody you're working with, continuing to, not putting yourself on a platform of I'm the lieutenant now, I don't have to do certain things, or I'm the captain, I don't have to do certain things. I use this example all the time because it works for me, right? And if we're on a scene, if we're at the scene of a fire, all right, whatever, we're at the scene of a fire and there's equipment to be picked up, and I'm done doing my incident command tasks, and we're all just standing around bullshitting, and we're like, all right, guys, come on, we got to get back in service, we got to pick that hose up, we got to do this, we got to do that. Like, it's not above me to walk over and pick up a length of hose and start rolling it, roll it up, throw it on the tailboard of the truck. And what I have always found is it's almost like a tactic, like if I walk over and I just start picking up hose, instead of saying, yo guys, I want you to, you guys need to go pick up that hose. If I walk over and I start doing it, more than likely I'm going to have 2 or 3 people are going to walk over and they'll be like, yo, chief, we got that. And I'm like, yo, my hands aren't broken, bro. I got it too. It's okay. I can do this, but I think that's important because it shows everybody that you're not putting yourself up here. You're not standing there smoking a big cigar with your hat on backwards like, oh, look at the job I just got done doing. you know? Bullshit. I didn't get done doing anything. I sat there with a radio and made some calls, you know? Everybody else did the work. You know what I'm saying? So that's all a part of that being humble. Now, what I will tell you is, because you're a young guy, and when I was a young guy doing this, I was night and day different from what I am today. You know, like I know my attitude back then, my first time through the ranks, was a lot different than my attitude now, several years later, you know. But that's because I continued to learn and pay attention to how other leaders worked and how other guys ran their fire scenes and how other guys reacted to stressors and things like that. And I got my head out of just learning from fire service leaders. I think that's a big, guys and girls love that are in the fire service, love reading everything fire service, Oh, I got to read Salka. I got to read this guy. I got to read that guy, because they're all these like mythical fire service chiefs and leaders. Get outside of the fire service realm sometimes and study like military leaders and, guys like Jocko Willig and, just like take in some of these podcasts and like listen to this stuff. These guys are talking about things that I'll never relate to, right? Like Battleground and Fallujah and shit. Like I can't even begin to relate to this stuff, but the leadership aspects of it, you can take bits and pieces and how to react with people and how to talk to your members. I think it's phenomenal stuff.
Corporate leadership too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thing. I've read a lot of books about corporate leadership and how they do it, and you get a lot out of it, and you can apply some of it to what we do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and look, and you learned, John, I think you learned by, right, your not meshing with that. I mean, you learned what you didn't want to be, right? Like, all right, well, look, it's a lesson. I got to work with this guy. I don't like working with this guy. It is what it is. I'll make it work, or maybe I won't make it work, but I know that's not what I want to be when I put the hat on.
Yeah. I know, and again, I had an extra, here we go, the extra tough thing. My uncle was the fire chief. So I'm like, I want to be like that guy. My uncle still to this day, even though him and I personally don't get along. But if he called me up today and said, hey, I'm putting a crew together to go put out hell, you want to come? I'm like, hell yeah, chief, let's go. That's just the type of fire chief that, my uncle is. And I admire him to this day about it. So I'm like, I want to be that leader.
Sure.
That somebody will drop everything and go follow into hell.
I agree. Stephanie, were you? Go ahead.
Oh.
I saw you reaching through your screen. Yeah, go ahead.
Do I have it on my face or something?
No, I see your finger coming for the unmute button, so I know it's coming. Go ahead.
So to like combine all of that, like as an officer, I believe you wear many hats, but you're also a sponge. You absorb what you see works, you absorb what you see doesn't work, and say, I don't want to be that person. I see it doesn't work. I see I don't get respect. I see I don't open up to people. That's not what I want. On top of that, to what you, Chief and Jean said about, taking in outside resources and making it fit towards like the mentality that you want to hold as a lieutenant, a chief, whatever, that's super important. For me, I have 1 million certifications and everything. And to me, they don't mean anything. And my department, they've been pushing me for 2 years to become lieutenant on my heavy rescue. And I told them, like, a piece of paper doesn't mean anything because I didn't apply it yet. The certifications don't mean anything because I haven't applied it. I haven't had that experience. So I think that's another thing to note, that if you are going for this position, it's one thing for them to tell you like, hey, there's an opening. There's another to say, am I really ready for this? Do I have the qualifications? Be honest with yourself. So, take in all that information, but also know I'm not like putting you down, John, but like,
No.
like, am I really ready for this? Like, go through scenarios in your mind, and if your confidence is like, got that, like, then let that speak. But for me personally, I'm like, no, I don't got that. So I'm not going to be there yet. I want some more time on to get used to different scenarios and to really apply everything that I've learned and to absorb like the do's and the don'ts of, the firehouse and how other officers conduct, their way with, teaching and whatnot. So I think you have to really combine all of that to become like the next level of an officer. Like these roles are changing. It's not just like true grit gets you there and kind of like you fake it till you make it. And not to call out some departments, but I've seen some officers who don't know jack when they get off the rig, and I don't want to be like that. So like I think that's a huge important thing to note, that like, do I want to look like a fool when I am trying to like conduct a scene?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I mean, I know I'm like, I try to stay as humble as possible. And that's just who I am. I'm like, well, there's 16 ways to skin a cat. Let's hear everybody's idea, and that's just how I've always been. But at the same time, I'm like, I'm ready for this next challenge, and the New Hampshire department was extremely busy. Like we saw a lot of interesting things, and I sat back for 3 years until I turned 2 years until I turned 18. And I just sat back and I watched and I absorbed everything. Again, different time, 2004, we were able to go on really cool calls like car accidents and go and do overhaul and put a pack on and do overhaul. But we can't do that now. And I also run the junior firefighter program on my department. And I'm like, wait, we can't do that? Man, it's like I was able to do that. And that's the whole type of thing. And they've seen me how I lead this huge group of kids. And I think that's the reason why the deputy chief brought me aside. And he's like, hey, I think you should. My dad always used to say it, you can have 1,000 certifications in the fire service, but if you have no street smarts to back it up, that ain't gonna mean shit.
Good man. Good man right there.
Yeah,
I like what he has to say.
My dad went toe to toe one night and with a career level firefighter. And not to call her out, but she was like listing off her certifications. He's like, oh yeah, you ever applied that? Have you ever done that? And like, good thing I was sitting in the middle of them, because they were just chirping at each other. And eventually she got up and walked away because I think she was that pissed off.
Listen,
like, and you can't do that.
And I'm going to say a couple things. So first of all, Stephanie, that's an extremely respectable trait, especially in the volunteer fire service, to have a shit ton of certifications and have somebody come to you and say, hey, I think you need to take this next step. And for you to say, nah, I'm not ready yet, because that is not the norm. I would say 8 out of 10 would jump right in, right? Gene's shaking his head.
Absolutely.
I know he agrees. 8 out of 10 would jump right in. They're like, oh, chief wants me to run? Woohoo, I'm in, All right.
That's admirable.
So that's
really
very, very, very admirable for you to realize, hey, listen, yeah, I've got a lot of classroom training, but I don't have a lot of application. Let's wait a little while, because in the volunteer service, and I say this all the time because it's 99% true, when you elect your lieutenant, you're normally electing your future chief, right? That's
Absolutely.
Normally how it works, right? You elect your lieutenant, and they're going to work their way up until they become the chief officer, right? And we don't do a great job of weeding people out once they're in. Does that make sense?
Also, we don't do a good enough job grooming them as well.
Right, yeah.
Because we had that responsibility as well.
Sure,
It's up to us to groom them and guide them to what we expect a good leader to be. So
yeah,
It
Yeah,
goes both ways.
Yeah, you've got somebody that's been in your lineup for however many years, however long it takes to get through your organization, and now it's 6 months away from them potentially becoming the chief of your department, and all of a sudden everybody's standing around going, "Holy shit! You realize that Mitch is going to be chief in November?" And they're like, everybody's standing around going, "No, that can't happen." And they're like, "Well, guess what? It's going to happen." Sorry, Mitch. I'm looking at you. And it was the first name. It was the first name I grabbed. But you understand what I'm saying? So for you to sit there and say like, "Hey, no, it's something I'll maybe do one day, but I'm not ready yet." That's an admirable trait. And John, what you said, or somebody said, one of you said it about faking it until you make it. Doesn't work in the fire service. I don't care if you're getting paid for the job or you're not getting paid for the job, or you're an officer or you're not an officer. People are going to see right through that crap. There is absolutely no faking it till you make it. If you don't know something, you just got to be honest and be, well, listen, Stephanie sends me a message today about a potential topic with all like this structural collapse stuff. Like she sent me like a lesson plan, she's like, "Hey, can we talk about this, and this?" And I'm reading it and I'm like going, "Holy crap, not my lane, Steph." I'm like, "Sorry, like not even gonna try." Like, I pick up the radio and I say, "Send me the structural collapse team." Like, that's my knowledge right there. So, but you got to know, there's no faking it. But,
yeah, I think as a fire service, and someone told me, I can't even remember who, but it wasn't that long ago, and he's like, firefighters, we got a very sensitive bullshit meter. We could sniff it out, and we know when someone's given a line of bullshit or it actually being straight. So
yeah,
I try to be.
Absolutely, and we all know, like we've all seen it, like you guys, referred to the, certifications. I know tons of people with a toilet paper roll full of certifications, but when it comes to operating on the fire ground, they're freaking useless. It's like, great, you've been through every class known to man and traveled to 50 different states to get it, but when it comes to application, it's not there yet, for whatever reason. But no, that's good. You think we?
Oh, absolutely. I think we more than covered it, actually. Thank you.
Yeah. And the only other thing I wanted to add is, and it just don't let being humble get confused with feeling like you need to be everybody's friend, right? Because I've worked with, leaders throughout my career that everybody loved them. They were great. They were the best officers since sliced bread. Everybody loved them. They were everybody's friend. But when it came to like really getting anything done or taking the organization to the next level, it never happened because they were too worried about being everybody's friend, and to do things, to take things in a positive direction. You're never ever going to be everybody's pal, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
If you're everybody's pal, then you're probably not doing your job.
And it doesn't work.
Right. Exactly.
It just doesn't work.
Right. It doesn't work.
When I finished my class, so volunteers in our station, we pass a 6-month class. It takes 6 months for us to train new volunteers. And I finished at the top of my class. And I remember one thing that the firefighter who taught me told me, and I'll never forget it. It's, first of all, you're a human being, then everything else, but you have to be professional.
Yeah.
Like, he always told me, he's an amazing guy. He's like, he was an officer in the Army. He's an amazing firefighter. He was really, really fun to work with. And he always told me, you have to be a human first. You have to respect everything. You don't have to be liked. You have to respect. You don't have to like somebody. You have to respect him. That's something that I've been taught, and I've stuck to it very much, because I might have some firefighters who I don't get along with as well, but I respect them, and it usually works out.
Right.
By the way, John, we need to talk after this, because junior junior programs in other countries have always fascinated me. And you said they can't go to car accidents? Seriously?
Nope. They can't go to car accidents. They can't go. Christ, they can't go to a lot of things. Pretty much, they can only go to wildland fires, trees down, and structure fires, and that's it.
Wow.
They can't do anything.
My line is hazmat. My station specializes in hazmat. The only call I can't go out to is hazmat. Yep. I've gone to plane crashes, car crashes, boats on fire. I've done everything. Seriously,
well, those could be hazmats.
Well, we'll hook you guys up because
depending on the hazmat.
On a total aside, Tomer, I'm gonna send you a picture when we get off, because when we were out inspecting our new engine that we just received not too long ago, right next to us in the bay next to us were 6 gentlemen from the Israeli Air Force that were inspecting their new aircraft trucks. So I'm going to send you a picture of that when we get off, and you can.
Well,
tell
I'm
me
not joining. I'm joining the Navy. I'm not joining the Air Force.
That's all right. I'm just going to send it to you anyway. So
yeah, sure.
You can tell me.
The Air Force guys are fun. The Air Force guys are fun.
Right. Go ahead.
Yeah. So if we're just shooting things, a topic that I actually like to talk about is using. I think John can say the same thing. Using the youth as a basis for the department in the community. Like, it really helps any department, whatever you're doing. Like, I'll take it for an example in Israel. In Israel, every emergency service has teenage volunteers. Israel has I'll just say this fact. Israel has the largest concentration of teenage EMTs in the world. Most of our national EMS service is actually based on teenagers.
Wow.
That ride the ambulances. They're like, a team will be made up of 1 paid guy and 2 volunteers. In the fire service, we're supplemental, and the police, they also have their own volunteers. So it really helps the community. And really, what we do, people will join up during high school, because during high school in Israel, you have to do a certain number of community service hours. Mm-hmm. So people will join up as part of that, and then they'll stay on, and they'll stay on, and they'll stay on, and they'll stay on, and then they join the department. And it's a great tool for recruiting, and it's a great tool for creating amazing people. Like, I have had a few cases of people that I've worked with that if they weren't in the fire service, like if they weren't volunteers, they'd be in a very bad place. Sure. And it's incredible the changes that can be done. And there have been a lot of talks about, especially in Israel, because in 2010 we had a giant forest fire in the Carmel, and we actually lost a teenage volunteer who was 16 years old. It was in 2010. There was a big conversation about actually canceling the program altogether, and eventually they decided not to. So it's always been a conversation about what actually the teenagers do, where they draw the line, and we've been hit with a ton of restrictions over the past 3 years. I'll just name one. Like, when I joined on, we could sleep at the firehouses. I finished my classes, no sleeping at the firehouses.
Yeah. It varies greatly. I'm going to say state to state, probably community to community. So what John was saying about where he's at, it's different here in New York. First of all, we're not allowed to call them juniors anymore. Okay, they're age restricted firefighters. That's the politically correct term, right? Age restricted firefighters.
Try using fire scouts. That works great.
Okay, all right. So
that's a good one.
That's our official name, fire scouts.
So in our area, that starts at 16 years old. Anything below 16, you have to have an explorer post through your Boy Scouts. It's through the Boy Scouts, or through the Scouts. Sorry, it's not Boy Scouts anymore. Through the Scouts. All right. Listen, I'm trying to stay PC here, you know. But look, the way we're extremely fortunate in our community. This year has been a bit of a tough go because of COVID. We haven't had any meetings, you know, but last year, I think probably 10 out of the 12 months, we brought in at least one new member. All right, 10 out of the 12 months. I think there was only 2 months where we did not bring a new member into the company. And quite a few of them were in the age restricted program. And I think that's one of our better recruitment tools, is to get kids when they're,
Get them when they're young.
Yeah, senior in high school, whatever. The problem that we have in our area, and maybe it's a little bit different where John is, or a little bit different down on Long Island, or, the problem that we have is not a lot of people stay. We're lucky in our community because we have a good community, but not a lot of people want to stay in our area. Like, they want to get the hell out, and go to a larger city or even a different state. It depends on what they're looking to do. So that can be difficult. You bring them in, you put them through all their training, you put time and money and effort in, and then they're like, all right, I'm 18, whoop, I'm out of here. But I think it's still one of our better programs for recruitment of firefighters.
Yeah, so we lose them at 18 anyways, because we lose them to the Army.
Different world.
Different story. Military service.
Yeah.
But what it actually does is the Army loves it. Like, most of our guys will go out to really, really good units due to the fact that they actually served with the fire service. It helps them a lot in the
I imagine it does.
tests.
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
and another great thing that they've actually been capitalizing on in the past few years is using us as fire safety instructors. So what they'll have is actually a program that I really love doing, and I really love working on it. After a major incident, like a huge fire, we had an entire floor go out. Herzliya is a very urbanized city, so we have very few detached structures. It's all apartment buildings. So we get to, so after the fire, a day after the fire, it'll be 2 volunteers and one of our fire safety officers. We'll come down, we'll open like a little stand, and we'll hand out pamphlets, explain what happened during the incident, and teach fire safety. And it works amazing. It really does, until you get the people that live in the fire building and complain about the mess. And then you remember that I was at the fire yesterday and I actually made that specific mess. Right.
All right. Well, we're gonna hook you two guys up to talk age restricted junior stuff on the side. I want to hit on one more topic. Mitch, you wanted to talk about Size Up, I think, right? Size Up and Command, I think it was, that you sent.
Yeah, just looking to add some tools to my toolbox up here where we use a lot of the blue card sort of hybrid system, and just looking to add some tools into it and sort of see what else is out there.
So this is part of that faking it till you make it. I have no idea what a blue card is, and I'm just.
So blue card was done at Houston. It's just a way of sort of very clearly sizing up for incoming units as to what's coming in behind or what you're dealing with, and it's just. I don't know that it's the best system or even a high use system by many departments, but we've used it up here well with our members, and it's helped a lot of our junior guys or sort of younger guys coming up into that officer role really get an understanding of how to size up a house, a commercial structure, a school, and give clear instructions or clear messages behind what they're seeing, as opposed to sort of absolutely faking it until they make it because they don't have a clue as to how to say it to someone who's coming behind them.
Okay, I follow you. So, you actually got a couple things there. So we do a lot of this in our officer development classes. Probably not enough because it's one of those things you're trying to cram so much stuff into probably, well, what everybody thinks is a too long, but it's probably too short of a delivery, for everything that you really need to talk about. And that's probably one of the more important things is, on-scene arrival reports, Size Up, the messages that you want to put out there. We've talked a little on the side lately about, radio communications and how to make those messages so it doesn't sound like the world's ending when it's a dumpster fire kind of a thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, for me, in our county, and this is always going to vary a little bit by geographical area and county. Like, I'm sure what I'm about to say is Gene will agree for where he's a volunteer, but then where he's a career guy, it's going to be totally different. So if I arrive on the scene of a structure fire And I'm not a huge pen and paper guy. I'm not a whiteboard guy. I don't break out the command board at the back of my truck, and I'm not writing stuff down. I've done that maybe twice in my time as a firefighter, and they were like big incidents where I had to write stuff down because it was beyond my brain capacity. So, I'll roll in, I'll do that, that size up as I'm approaching based on what I'm getting over the radio. I'll give that radio transmission as to, what the structure is, 20 by 40, 2-story wood frame, flame showing from the second floor window, A side, right? Because we do A, B, C, D around the structure.
And so do we.
Okay. Some parts of the world do 1, 2, 3, 4.
We use compass.
We use
the compass, so like north side, west side.
Okay. I wasn't a Boy Scout, and the compass, I'd send you the wrong spot. So unless I could do it on my phone, but anyway, so, and then just go from there. Now, where my county differs, and this is starting to change a little bit, where my county differs is I'll give them that size up report. They'll repeat that size up report back. Hopefully 99% of the time they do. So the incoming units can hear it and know what's going on, but they don't care. Like I know my neighboring counties, they'll say, we're deploying 2 3/4 hose lines, and I've got a ladder going to the second floor, and I've got this and I've got that. And the 911 center actually documents all of that stuff that they're kind of throwing out there.
Right.
We don't do that. My county doesn't do that. They don't care.
Yeah, and we don't either. A lot of ours sounds a lot like what you guys are doing, and sort of just giving a very clear description of what you see and what you're dealing with.
Yeah.
And then they just kind of want to know when you put water on it, and essentially
when it's extinguished, right? When the fire's under control. Yeah. Depending on the situation, I might get out and, maybe I'll do the 360 by myself if I'm there before everybody else. Obviously if there's a life hazard or something, it's going to change the whole situation. But it's really going to, it doesn't vary much, but Gene, what do you think based on, here to, where you're at during the day?
I think the big difference where I work is the county also has a part-timer. So that kind of helps with your coordination of stuff and keeps you focused on what your progress is, because they're going to call you every 15 minutes. This is your part-timer, and you'll give an update and you'll say what you need or don't need, or, so it gives you a good guide towards, what's going on. And,
sure.
And that's really the biggest difference that I see from where I work to where I live. Is you get that extra little bit of help from the dispatchers from the county side that you don't get up here.
Right,
so,
right.
I mean, aside from that, it's pretty similar. A lot of it has to do with your initial size up when you pull on the scene.
Yeah.
That's huge.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do a lot with box alarms here. We don't do a lot with I have some automatic aids set up on certain things, but not a lot. If I go one county below me, and once or twice a year I'll do a mutual aid standby one county below me, and they'll hand me a book with their automatic aids and their box alarms, and I'm like, the hell am I supposed to do with this? They're like, well, if you go to this address and you throw a second alarm, you're going to go to page 2. I'll go to page 2 and there'll be like 17 companies listed. I'm like, oh shit, like here, obviously we're a little bit more rural.
You have to ask for what you want.
Yeah, it's all on the fly. It's all on the fly.
See, where I work, if we call a second alarm, they automatically know what to send us,
right?
Who to backfill us, and so we don't even have to think about it.
Right.
I need a second alarm. I need my station's backfilled, and they do the rest.
Yep. And that part of it I like, especially for younger officers, because that can be a challenge when you get one of the younger officers where it's their first time at a real job and they're like, oh crap, where do I get help from?
That's one of the things I was struggling a little bit with here, moving into a leadership role is like, I don't know all the neighboring departments yet, so I'm like, if we get an incident, who am I calling?
Yeah.
And, it's because I'm so used to not having to think about that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It took a little bit to get used to.
Yep, absolutely, for sure. But All right. So one last thing, and I think we'll end it off. Stephanie, let me ask you a question. So I don't want you to go into like total detail if you don't want to, but the thing that you brought up the other night about just going to a senior officer if you're dealing with some stuff. You cool with talking about that a little bit?
Oh, I was like, what?
Not personal stuff. You know, like if you're not seeing eye to eye with the direction of the company, like that kind of thing.
Right. I mean, I don't mind diving into my personal.
Yeah. Very vanilla. Yeah.
So I think, try not to get like too personal. So
I threw you on the spot, so I apologize. I threw you
I'm like, yeah, let me.
I could have said you like a chat here on the side or something.
Oh, it's okay. So basically, there's a lot of drama that goes on, I'm sure, in every department. Unfortunately, with mine, I've experienced more drama in politics more than actual firefighting, drills, meetings. And that's been flooded instead of me actually focusing on what we're there to do. So that's where my biggest frustration lies. And I mean, there are some officers who I've spoken to about it and they try to make a difference, but then they get shut down by the commissioners or the chiefs. And I feel like it stops. My efforts unfortunately get stifled and that's the end of it. So for me personally, I'm kind of at like a crossroads of like, do I just continue going as is and try to learn pretty much by doing Zoom classes like this and, Googling stuff, or another option is unfortunately leaving the department and going to my neighboring department, who is very well established and very professional. Their social media is on point. They're there for the town, and there's drama there, but I have a better rapport with their members than I do with my own, and like that speaks volumes. So like, I guess the bottom line is like the newer members, who there are some who really, really want to learn, and it's hard to kind of get your voice through to higher ups. And my number one guy who I went to, who was my handler coming in, was a captain, is now chief, and I've already experienced him, like, I'm sure he's swamped, and I've already experienced him kind of like not helping me out when I needed it, and kind of like not hitting me back when I give him a text or a call. So I'm kind of like, I feel a little discouraged at this point, and I'm sure that this isn't like a unfamiliar story across departments. So
no, definitely not. So the reason I wanted to jump into this a little bit at the end, because I think we kind of came full circle with we kind of started out with Firehouse culture a little bit, and we're going to end with Firehouse culture, so it kind of the conversation
a little bit of culture and leadership kind of mixed
together. The combination kind of comes full circle. And when this came up the other night, whose dog? Oh, is that Heather's dog?
Sorry. I thought it was muted still because I was going to say something to Stephanie, but I didn't remute it. Sorry. Go ahead.
That's all right. So when this came up the other night and when we were talking about it, it can be really, really difficult to get out of that negative culture. And how we ended up the other night when we were talking to Stephanie about it was, you just kind of got to stay the course, know that what you're doing is the right thing, try to bring some other people along on the ride with you, you know, that are like-minded and want to see that change, and just continue to develop yourself and hope that it goes the right direction eventually. That's the hard part, is the eventually, you know, because you don't know when eventually could be. Go ahead,
How
Heather.
long have you been trying to make the voice heard?
I started October of 2015. So since October of 2015, I came in. I'm a very open person, and I read, you know, background in psychology. I read people very well, and I knew that coming in, like, there was drama. Like I said earlier, came in and there was a social media thing going on where we lost some members. We couldn't have like social media even going on between members outside of the department. It was just like, it's a mess, and it's been even worse since. So like I said, like, I'll try to, if I see an officer or a member doing something that is positive, like we had a bonfire after, you know, a drill the other night, well, you know, months ago. And I was like, and I told the officer, I said, I love this. Let's keep this going. I don't care if 2 people show up or stay for this. This is amazing. Let's keep going. And I'm happy to help. So it's, I of course enforce it, but it's few and far between. And then of course someone comes along and shits on it. And it's like, why? And people do call them out, but a lot of it is, I hate that this is going on. Things need to change. Okay. How? Like, it's all talk and then just pointing fingers and blame. And so for me, being like one of the true, like, let's get a family together, I feel like I'm one of the only ones really wanting to put the steps in place to get there.
To add what Chief Soller said about aligning yourself with people that are like-minded like yourself, believe it or not, it almost sounds like it is time for you to maybe step up and take on a position as a leader and be the change. You know, right. I mean, that's really the only way it's going to change is you have to be the change.
Do you find anyone in your department looking up to you or trying to talk to you about things?
Well, my boyfriend, who's like the one on my team who's, you know, all for wanting the change in the department, which is great. I have, like what's Tomer said about, you don't have to like people, but you can respect them. There's a lieutenant who absolutely nobody likes, but I respect him because anytime I went to him, I said, hey, I don't know diddly squat about the radio. He's like, let's meet, we'll go over it. And he's the one who was also pushing me to make that change and be a lieutenant. And he was like, I respect that you don't want to. Come to me if you need help with anything. So like there are few and far, but like I said, nobody likes him. So like, it's just like I run into a problem each and every route.
How do I word this? I guess it doesn't really matter. Do you feel that anybody is benefiting in some way from that negative culture? And so in my time, anytime I've felt where there's a negative culture and that there's a group that seem to want to keep everybody in that negative space, there's somebody that's benefiting somewhere from that negativeness. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah.
I don't know if it's coming out.
Somebody keeping everybody down.
Yeah, there's a reason why somebody's keeping everybody down, and why, you know, like, why are they keeping it? Like, because nobody likes to be miserable, right? Nobody wants to be a part of a miserable organization. And I don't want to be, you know, you obviously don't want to be. You know?
I think the reason behind why they want to keep it miserable, that sucks for them. And there's some like internal personal things going on, but don't bring it to the house and don't bring it to, you know, the family that we're trying to make at the firehouse.
Right.
unfortunately, you just labeled my entire department. Everyone has like this ulterior motive to just like shit on each other and talk about this and go behind this person's back. And like, I'm so sick of it because like I said, I have been a part of this organization for almost 5 years. I don't know anything because we don't do fire stuff. We're not there for the community. So like, I'm really at the point where like, if it was like a select few and I can change or influence change, I would be trying a lot harder, but it's been my entire career there that I've been trying. And like my past chief, my past 30, who was Justin, and left, he already put in a transfer request. Even my chief of my department told me to get the hell out. So like, what does that say? So that's just where I'm like,
yeah, okay, all right, yeah.
the whole thing.
No, it's a problem, especially, and look, why I find that very frustrating is because, look, we don't personally know each other. Like, I can tell your dedication from the few times that we've talked over social media and the couple classes that we've been together here on Zoom already, and just watching what you put up every day on your Instagram. Like, I can tell you're a motivated person that like wants to do right by people and by your organization. And I find it extremely frustrating when an organization, especially a volunteer organization, doesn't want to take energy like that and benefit their organization. You know what I'm saying? It's very frustrating. So I feel your pain. I absolutely do. So, all right. Anybody have any parting thoughts? If not, we're going to, Heather, you got anything you've been running around here with the.
I know, I'm so sorry. But I am paying attention, and especially to you, Stephanie, because as a female and in our department, I've been very fortunate. But again, we do have some drama going on, but for the most part, like, because I have a problem speaking, but they know like when I have something to say. And for the most part, they do listen, but I asked about how long you've been trying, because that's kind of important too, to not give up and gravitate to those that are listening. Sorry,
Yeah.
my granddaughter.
Yeah. I'm gonna keep trying. No matter what, it's not in my nature to not, regardless of the outcome of everything, because then that's a bad influence on me, and that means that they essentially won. So I appreciate everyone's input and push, and that's why I'm here.
Absolutely. All right, everybody. Well, I thank you for jumping on tonight. I think this was good. Jeremy, do you have to go on a job, dude? You disappeared for a little while. Do you have something good, or just go?
No, I wish I had a really cool war story to tell you, but the guys just ate dinner and I didn't want to miss out on it. So.
All right. Well, I can't say I blame you.
I could come up with something really cool if you wanted me to.
That's all right. All right. So go ahead.
Actually, I just want to apologize to Tomer. So while he was telling his story, we actually got a job toned out. And I was like, this would happen. And I kind of chuckled to myself, and it was during a pretty serious story. So I apologize.
Oh, that's
fine.
Nope, there we
Part
go.
of it.
Bad internet connection.
Part of it.
Yeah, that's part of it.
I happened to look over, and I'm like, oh, well, IAR just went off, and it popped up on my screen. I'm like, structure fire.
Listen,
like,
I'm just going to throw this out here real quick, because I'm just letting you guys know, because a lot of you have been on this ride with me for a while now. I cannot believe that I have not had a call go out in the middle of one of these Zooms, podcasts, or online trainings yet. It
Yes,
has not
did.
happened. Well, yeah, but that was the
Our
whole
own,
department. The whole department was on a Zoom, so that was
out.
that was actually kind of
that
fun
does
to
not
watch.
count.
Everybody's on a Zoom meeting. The pager goes off, and you just see like everybody on the screen just like dash off. Yeah. But yeah, so I appreciate you guys being on, and make sure you. I'll put a post up and just kind of throw everybody's IG names out there, so you can all kind of interlink and talk and share stories and connect. And again, I appreciate you being on with me tonight. So thanks for your time and your dedication, everything you do. All right, stay healthy, stay safe, and hopefully we're going to return to better days here soon.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief.
you, Chief.
All right,
Chief.
all right guys.
Yes, thank you.
All right. Thank you. Talk to you soon.